Hello, social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work Ranch Podcast. Saludos a todos. Bienvenidos. Thank you for tapping into another episode wherever and however you're listening or watching this podcast. Uh, please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Just type in the Social Work Ranch Podcast, hit the subscribe button. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at the Social Work Ranch Podcast. That's all one word. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Social Work Rants. That's all one word. You can type in the Social Work Rants Podcast on Facebook, hit the like button, tap in. The podcast is on all audio platforms. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Bass City Entertainment, your home for holistic online wellness, featuring poetry and online Zumba classes with my book, Triumph Through Pain, coming out 2022. Also, my Zumba classes, manifesting, coming back 2022. It's 2021 that completely slacked off, but 2022 is a new year, so I'm gonna make it happen. So my guest, I actually had a pleasure of meeting her on two occasions since 2021. So Javonia, how you doing, my friend?
I'm feeling blessed. I'm just feeling so reflective, so excited about next year, about this year, and then just happy to be here. I know that we've had the opportunity to speak on those number of occasions and always good energy. So I'm happy to be down on your platform with your listeners. And it's so dope, all of the things that you have going on. I need to get in a Zumba or two classes myself. So make sure you keep me posted when those come back
absolutely.
out.
Yeah,
Are they going to be virtual or in person?
Yes, virtual, because
okay, I can do that.
The way Omicron or Marion, wherever you're from, however you say it, it's out there. And whatever variant is coming after that, because that's just how Corona's been acting up. So
right.
Everything's gonna be virtual. So we get.
That's dope.
If we shut down again, I'll be ready to go. Y'all be reading my book and be dancing virtually.
Right. I mean, that's definitely one of the most resilient factors that we have on our names to date, is just being able to pivot, especially in these virtual spaces. Now we know how to use it for the most part. We know what it's used for. And we know how to maximize and use it to the best of our potential and energy. So
and make some money.
Yeah. I mean, 2020, definitely, I was heavy on the online workouts. My fitness trainer, shout out to Always Fit, out here in Brooklyn, was doing classes twice a week, 3 times a week. And I was down to the Zoom 3 times a week. And that was really one of the things that was able to keep me grounded during our first year of COVID, just really exercising. The shelter in place was real. 2021 opened back up a little bit, and I still worked out. I started going back outside and doing those things, but the online classes for sure are huge. So shout out to you and your whole team for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. We trying to make things happen and learn as we go, because they don't teach nothing about entrepreneurship in grad school, so we got to make things happen.
They do not, and they also do not teach anything about surviving and thriving through a pandemic either. So we are learning that lesson as well as we go on, and I think that folks are really doing a good job. Certainly not minimizing folks who are struggling and in pain, but there are largely a lot of folks who have really took this opportunity to figure a lot of things out. So shout out to everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we had a first pleasure meeting each other, and shout out to Joy from the Joyous Social Work Podcast. So y'all need to check.
For sure.
I call her the queen or godmother of social work podcasting.
All of that.
Yeah. So she had an event in the park in New York, and that's how we first connected. So this podcast recorded has been months months in the making. So and then we happened to run into each other at the Earn Your Leisure event in the Bronx, and it so happened I took Amtrak and came up from Delaware. Like, I need to go. I need to meet these guys that helped me out so much since the pandemic. Just they actually partly inspired the podcast. So I had
you
to,
ever
like,
told them?
yeah, I told them when I met them the first time. So I was like, no. So everything that I've been trying to learn and put into practice, like, partly, I definitely learned a lot from their platform and try to put everything to practice. And thanks to them was because I got my house and, like, put my car. It took a while, but finally put my car on my business name and even, like, started my LLC and all this stuff. So, like, just learning as I'm going and just making things happen and trying and learning as I'm going. So
that's a word. That's definitely a word. And definitely shout out to Joy and Earn Your Leisure podcast. Just really in the spirit of that. Just thinking about how beautiful and dope it is just to connect with so many different people through this work and through this social work world, and how small it actually is. And so many people are doing so many amazing things. And being a social worker myself, I'm always looking to just connect and collaborate where necessary and when possible. And also through our platform, Reforum, just also trying to make these connections happen, because the best way for any of our platforms and our work to grow is to do it together. So really great event Joy put together. And I still, communicate with a lot of folks I met that day. And we actually were talking about doing something bigger in person next year on a boat. And I'm not letting go of those dreams. Omarion or Marcaron is counting their days, and we're going to be able to presume as usual. And I think 2021 gave us like a little taste of what maybe our world used to feel like, but we know that, the old normal is gone. I hope everybody knows that. I hope I ain't just break the news on this podcast.
Breaking news alert.
I hope you told them, right? That's gone. So our new normal in 2021 it felt good. It felt better. We were able to do some things. So I just hope that, 2022 is great for us all.
Yeah,
that's the most I can say at this point. I'm like, oh man, yeah, I'm hopeful.
Yeah, sure. I want to be around for at least for both of my kids to turn 21. After that, like, then I'll be let me be on borrowed time, but let me get to they turn 21.
We all got what you said. We got a lot of living to do.
Exactly.
So what we got plenty of years. Okay, we got stuff to do.
Exactly.
Places to see.
Exactly, and like, I've been seeing your IG page. You've been killing it in 2021, doing a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because I was actually just looking at my phone and I took a picture of like a whiteboard that I put up on the beginning of 2021. So, going into 2021, and it was like 5 or 6 different goals. And interestingly enough, being a guest on 5 podcasts was on it. And I've been on probably like 10 this year.
Oh, awesome.
Not even on purpose. Like, I just was like putting it out in the atmosphere. Like, I love podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts for years. So I'm like, I'm gonna get on some. I talk for a living, so I can talk, whatever. So it worked out, but just really being able to write down the visions that I have for not only myself, but for this business, and then working towards them, watching them come into fruition. And then last week we had the opportunity to celebrate with our friends and families and clients, which was so dope. So I seen everything happen full circle, from writing it down to working hard for it, to grinding, to all of that, to the celebratory moment, but then also being able to be like, oh, I want to do it again. Mm-hmm. So I'm writing down the same sort of, goals with the same energy, the same manifestation. And, it's about to start looking real successful around here.
Amen
I feel
to that.
Claim it.
So I usually end with that question, but you went into it. So what does 2022 look like for you and your organization?
Okay, so I just realized I never even said what it was.
What is let's backtrack. What is Reforum?
I'll start there. So I'm Javonia Smith. I am a social worker based out in Brooklyn, New York. And I am 1/3 co-founder of Reforum Consulting, which was founded in 2018 out here in Brooklyn, just really responding to the need of a more engaging, culturally humble, trauma-informed space for not only our community, but for corporations as well. So being on the end user for a lot of these trainings and workshops for a lot of time, as social workers, they will workshop and train you to death, okay? You remember that, right?
Yes. They still do that now. And I'm like,
shout out to the good ones. There were some good ones, but largely for the most part, between school and work, we were sitting there just really not feeling connected, really feeling like the content didn't speak to us, feeling bored. So for me and my full-time work, going through these trainings, I'm sitting there like, I wonder how much these people get paid, because that's a job and I need to look into it. So I started looking into it, and for my full-time work, I am a school mental health consultant for the DOE. Okay. So I go in and I do the same similar work that I do for Reforum, but through the DOE, through the DOHMH. So I started to make the connections that schools need it, corporations need this work, communities need this work. Everybody needs to have a space where they could talk about mental health and wellness content, personal and professional development, just even some really difficult conversations that folks aren't really having in a way that people are grasping, and certainly that people are engaged in. Right. So that's where Reforum came from. Our first workshop was a self-care workshop. It was a workshop that I've done for many, many years for other people. But we presented it I designed it and we presented it through a forum platform, and it just kind of took off. It took a life on its own. And then we started creating more workshops around other similar content that were so fun and so engaging, but also informative, that we just started getting more and more clients that wanted trainings, workshops, event hosting, team workshop days and things like that. So we pretty much just take whatever our clients want, whatever content folks need, make it a thing, make the space feel like, okay, I'm learning, but I'm also here with people who look like me, who see me, who understand my perspectives. So we've been really blessed this year. We've been on a bunch of different projects. We've done SYEP, which out in New York City is the Summer Youth Employment Program. This will be our second year in a row. So we love youth development. We love cohorts. So our typical population is the 18 to 24 youth group. But we were lastly on a large project based out in New York City. It's the Civilian Climate Corps project, which is a green construction employment program. It was borough-wide and just really went out in the community, got folks trained in OSHA SST, basic construction, a bunch of different other specialized trainings. and they're out here on construction sites. They might be at your construction site next to you who are part of my program. And we just really were part of that project to get folks from the beginning of the training to successful completion, also helping them navigate their barriers, their challenges around transportation, childcare, just mindset that a lot of people who haven't had traditional employment before sort of needed a little bit more support with. So that was super random. I know people are like, how did Reforum get on a construction site contract? And yeah, we've been on this since September, and I think we just finally were like, okay, we understand why we were here. But it's been such an amazing process. We went from just the three of us to we had to hire a team of 10. Wow. So we've grown. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Like we went from no team to like the next day we're in a Zoom, like, are y'all trying to ride with Reforum? Like, are y'all trying to come to death row? Because like we don't have much money. We don't have much to say right now, but just stick with us and we're gonna hold y'all down. And they did, and it was fruitful. It was fruitful for them, and it was fruitful for us, not only financially, but also just the connections we made and just the opportunity to get on more projects next year.
That is so dope.
With different companies that were a part of this large project. So we're excited. Like, we were laughing, like we still, a lot of businesses are like, we need a business plan to get started. And I'm like, we're going on our 4th year and we are finally being like, okay, we have to slow down and actually like sit with people to like really do a business model with like growth trajectory, because honestly, social capital has been carrying us. Our energy and vibe has been carrying us. And we could certainly be a lot more intentional about our work, intentional about the spaces that we're trying to access. But we've just been rolling with the word of mouth and just people loving the vibe and just wanting us back. But, we're really ready to sit down and push out digital products and get maybe some, asynchronous learning webinars online, just a lot of different things we're trying to touch next year. Merch. We want to add more to our team. So if anybody ends up listening to this, come to Reforum Consulting next year. There is a space for you because we are looking to add conversation curators to our platform, to our team, which are people who have their own respective knowledge, their own subject matter expert. So we know that we can do a lot of things, but there are some content that we certainly would feel much more comfortable having someone else be a part of our team. So, we got clients who ask us for a wide range of stuff, and we've been doing it, but we would love to be able to reach out to, to Social Work Brand Podcast. Come in, this client wants to do a podcast with their team, can you come in and do that work? So just really trying to get the Rolodex up. I know I'm dating myself. Rolodex is a thing.
Yes, it is a thing. And people use it from time to time still.
What would be
the 2K22 version of that word? I don't know.
My followers?
I guess it's just like your network being your net worth. So
yes. The network is going to be right. The network is going up. Shout out to my dear friend Andre from It's a Process. Community over competition is real. And the community is growing. The community is so dope. Y'all, everybody just are doing so many amazing things, and it will be remiss of Reforum Consulting not to align ourselves with amazing people, because that's where the work happens, and it's essentially for our community.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. And especially a community that's been left behind by we're talking about decades and generations, and it's like, all right, now it's like us, we see what's been happening. We see our parents, we see our grandparents, and like with the struggle boat, and like we don't want to do this, and like so, and we figuring out a way how to do this so that way, our kids, our nieces and nephews could reap the benefits and teach them, and that way they could take over and keep pushing forward until finally we hit this breakthrough, because it's all about it's really on us, and like we talking about student loan debt, and the government, and the money and this and that, and it's like, no, we're gonna keep fighting, keep pushing, and building connections, because it's like all about the network, and building and making money together, because there's money out there to be made, and guess it's not necessarily it's not all about money, but at the same time, our 9 to 5s are barely paying the bills, so we gotta like come through, think outside the box things, and things that they don't teach you in social work school, that we can figure things out, and figure there's money to be made somewhere. You got an idea, like I've been stressing forever, ever since like COVID kind of started. Like we in the era of shooting your shot, whatever idea that pops in your head, like we were shelter in place for a long time. People were on their phone, like everybody was on on their phone, on their computer. So it's just a matter of shoot your shot and make some money together. Like we all a computer on our phone. Like it's just a matter of sending. You got somebody's email, the DM, obviously, with respect out of people's privacy and stuff like that. But the worst that can happen is somebody saying no, and you keep it pushing, and whatever idea pop in your head, just do it.
That ever happened to me.
So it is, and there's networking events. Definitely do that, because you just never know who you're gonna meet, who people know, and you just never know.
Right. Yeah, that's big, and fortunately, I was big on that before I was Reforum. So I was always out into the community, always just trying to do different things to elevate and to support my community. And even in my full-time work, I've been a social worker for some time now. I've been doing direct service for over a decade. So it's really natural and essential for me to be a part of this work. And it's fun. It's nice to see people grow, and we do a lot of work around wellness and the 8 dimensions of wellness, and to see people make connections between rest and the food they're eating, and being happy with the people you surround yourself with, and just make those connections, and then make changes and just live a better life. It's amazing to see that. We just finished up a contract that we received from NYCHA, which was a pilot contract, super dope contract for any other businesses that do RFPs and things like that. Look out for this one. It's a NYCHA contract, and it was to go into the houses. I think it was 15 NYCHA houses in borough wide, to do supportive services for the community, for the youth. So we did a 8-week program in the Penn Workman houses in East New York, working with young people to become leaders, but also to talk about things that they won't necessarily have the opportunity to talk about, quote unquote, in the hood, right? So we allowed them the space for that, and also empowered them to have those conversations in those spaces with other people. And these young people were so impressive. The things they shared and the things that our young people are feeling and want to talk about was inspiring, but also made us really feel like we got to keep going, that we were only allowed to work with 15, and how many young people, right, need the space. So we worked really, really hard on that contract. We hope that they, extended and allow other businesses the opportunity opportunity to hop on it because it's valuable, and more young people, more and more communities need this work, need to have these conversations, need to understand trauma. We did a lot of work around environmental trauma, which is something that we talk about a lot in the 8 dimensions of wellness, like what it feels like to be around, garbage and infestations and living in food deserts, and having a conversation with them about how that impacts their mental health. They were like blown away, like they never made the connection. Like, yeah, I do feel different when I go to my school in Canarsie, and I do feel different when I'm in downtown Brooklyn, and just really allowing them to make the connections. And then we wanted to expose them to different foods, in the spirit of them living in the food desert and being limited to literally White Castle, Domino's, and McDonald's.
Right.
We brought them Thai food one day, and we took a picture of when we opened the food, and their faces were looking like, yeah, we're not eating that. And we were like encouraging them, because by this point we had gotten them just different things. But the Thai food, we're like, we're going to try to see. And we're like, just try it. When I tell you, they tore that pad Thai up, and that pad came out up and was asking for it every week. Okay.
But it's amazing, like, and for listeners that and viewers that don't know, like, downtown Brooklyn is like high rises, got all the courthouses are there. Like, you see all your like celebrities that get arrested in New York City, a lot of them end up in the Brooklyn court system, and like, and you go like a place with Canarsie that's like all the way on the other side of Brooklyn, is like, you need like, basically you need a car to really get around appropriately there. But obviously there's buses, and like the L train is there to the last stop, and you still might have to take a bus to get around appropriately to go out there. So it's a middle nowhere. If you don't know that area, is just, you're gonna be lost in the sauce, and it's not the greatest of areas. So for somebody there to really experience Thai food or any other outside of their norms, like you mentioned, the Mickey D's, the Domino's, or whatever local pizza shop or anything like that, and experience something outside your culture and stuff, and really enjoy it, speaks volumes of how segregated a big city like New York really can be, that people don't talk about like that.
Yeah, at all. Like, kids not even leaving their block, how that impacts their mental health and things like that. We had a guest, Greg, from actually another podcast host, the Lifestyle Brothers podcast host. He's been to 86 countries. Wow. So we had him come in and speak to the young people. So for young people who never even been to the Bronx, because they from East New York,
right,
hearing somebody say they've been to 86 countries was like, wow. And you look like me, and you did all of that. And it was, I was inspired. I've been to like 20, no, I've been to like 25. And I was like, wow, you've been to 86. So, so just, bringing people into the space also to elevate the content, but also so young people could see people who look like them, not only surviving, but thriving, in a world where a lot of people feel like survival is like, you've made it.
You made it, exactly.
Like, I made it, I woke up, I made it to work, and I'm back home. Like, I'm good.
Or like the Ice Cube song, today was a good day, that like went by without getting shot or drive by, anything like that, and you made it home in one piece.
No, we should not.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Like, we done with getting it out the mud. I'm going straight to the garden. I don't want to be in the mud anymore. I'm in the garden with it, and I'm okay with that. So yeah, like, survival has been our norm for a while, for forever. And it's beautiful to see people being like, no, I think there's more to life than just mama didn't make the breakfast with no pork. Like,
Right.
it's more to just waking up and going to work and coming back home and not dying.
You know, that's real. It's so real, and a lot, and we see that in our clients and that we serve, in a mentality, and even like seeing kindergartners. You know, I'm in Delaware and working with the kiddos, and these kindergartners, they off the chain, and unfortunately they're black and brown, and like you offer them terms of endearment, like, and they looking at you ready like to cuss you out. And I was like, I'm giving you like terms of endearment, and like you act like I just like cursed at you. And it was like there's like some disconnect there, and it was like what, and like, no, the social worker in me is like, my head is spinning, like what is going on in your environment that like a term of endearment, like, if you want
Never
to be
heard it
cool,
before.
probably never heard of it before. Like, what is going on in your home life that you don't appreciate? That is like, it's like I curse, like I just cursed at you or something, and it's like, wow, it's crazy. And like, if you, it's okay if you want to be like called by your name, and like, fine, like I'll call you by whatever you like to be called, but you know, terms of endearment is just like nature or whatever, and like for you not to appreciate that, and especially so young, and it's like, that's really was like, it's been like mind boggling to really see that, and it is so such a young tender age. So it's just like, it's like it's a product of your environment, and people like really struggling, and like you mentioned at the very beginning, people have been really struggling in the pandemic, and people like just, a lot of people still been stuck, or what to do, where to go, like what am I going to do, and they're like, you know, unemployment's gone, like, you know, the rent referendums are gone, and it's like, what am I going to do, you know, in these streets to try to survive? And as people all really think about, and there's others like use the pandemic and like thriving and doing what we gotta do. I, I pivot. I wish I had like $1,000 for every time I heard pivot, because my loans would have been paid off already. But that's the word. But that's the word.
Time. I feel like when I said it earlier, I was like, oh wow, I remember saying pivot so much. I was like, I missed that word. But yeah, pivot was like a buzzword for like the whole 2020. And it made sense though, right?
Yeah, it did, yes.
You know, literally, people were like, trying to figure something out. But, you know, definitely just even being mindful of folks who are struggling and who are in pain, especially right now during the holiday season. Just to take care of yourselves, for sure. There's different hotlines, and I'm sure you share this information. You know, we have some of this stuff on our page as well, with hotlines and different support services that you can do for yourselves. Virtual spaces are readily available during this time if you feel like you want to be connected. There's like a lot of different service projects that you can hop on to be in the community, so you won't have to feel alone. And really, like, you know, for me, reframing what the holiday season looks like for me, you know, and don't let social media wrap you into this whole idea of what you should be doing. If I turn my camera around, I got my plants and I got a 1-string lights up in here, and I'm okay with that. Okay. And I was laughing with my friends, and you know, it's just an interesting time where people are like so easily to compare themselves to what they see online, especially around this time. And I tell y'all right now, ladies, single ladies, don't worry. You don't need no matching pajama sets with nobody, okay? If you want a onesie, you get that onesie and you put it on. And you watch Best Man Holiday and get you some Baileys or whatever you feel like you need to do. But it's okay, ladies. And gentlemen.
And gentlemen too, yes.
And all genders in between, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Do what you need to do for yourself, okay? Whatever you need to feel at peace do that, because a lot of folks will allow themselves to get wrapped up into that. So I was literally just talking to my friends about that as she ordered her pajamas via Amazon Prime. Like, you're right. Let me order some because I want to wear them too. I'm like, yeah, why not? You got you some pajama sets, some matching pajama sets?
Yeah, I do.
I love it.
I gotta find it. Yeah.
Listen, you better stop playing when it's time for the pictures. Don't get cussed out. You better look festive, okay?
You just gave me some homework to do. I gotta find that.
Find your pajamas. Don't do that. But I love it. It's you know, it's certainly a beautiful season for people, but it's also a painful one as well. So just recognizing both ends of the spectrum, and you know, for sure, if you're happy and you feel joy, let it be known. I was reading something the other day about joy guilt. Have you ever heard of that? And not like joy,
not
the social work podcast, but like joy, Joy.
I didn't never heard of that term, but I know where you're going with it. That you just want to be happy, and like, and then like you feel bad because you see people and they're like not feel, they either like jealous that you feel that way, or like not happy for you, or like, or they might be happy, like tell you your face, and but really they're kind of miserable and like mad at you for that or whatever. Like I see, yeah, and I see people like just gloat like on social media, like, hey, I like my beautiful family and my beautiful house. I'm like you really like being extra.
Yeah. It's definitely a thin line, right?
Yeah.
Between being like humble, but also talking your shit, because I'm here for both. Like, I think that we should all be humble and appreciative for all the opportunities and things that we've been afforded. But I also think that if you worked hard and you dope, like, you need to say that too. So, but just if things are happening in your life that are going well, if you're happy, it's okay. And definitely to your point, but also people not wanting to share or not wanting to let their magic shine, or let, you know, are just really dimming their light, just feeling like that is not going to be received well, or people aren't going to be happy for you because they have their own stuff going on, which could be true. But I think that people should definitely just be unapologetically amazing, unapologetically happy, because you deserve it. Yeah, especially if you're feeling happy right now, right? There's really a whole reason why you are happy during a moment where a lot of the world is changing. There's a lot going on. If you found some happiness in the midst of this, like, tap in for real.
Yeah, it was meant to happen, and in that particular point. So just build on that. It's so you can do. You just got to build and grow, because things in the world are rapidly happening, and like, if you don't pay attention, society is gonna leave you behind. Forget the man, forget the white folks, forget the government. Like, the whole world is gonna leave you behind if you don't pay attention.
I probably shouldn't even say I don't watch the news, because as a social worker, that's probably not what I'm supposed to do.
That's part of your self-care. Like, the news is traumatizing.
Okay, listen,
I've been saying that for like a year.
I don't know what's going on in the world. Like, I'm present. I'm so present, like, every day, like, here, that I'll be like, I don't even know what's going on in the world. I probably should, but it's just too much. Man, and I can't control any of it. You know, that's
exactly that's what I learned, not just during pandemic time, even before that. I only control what I can control, and teach my kids that you only control what you can control. You can control your behavior. You control like how you talk to people, like yourselves, and it's what somebody else does that you can't really control that. So that,
right.
And that goes about, making money. Like, people woke up and realized in 2020 that it don't matter who's in office. Like we like were able to pivot, make our money, and like keep it moving, and we're gonna keep making money moving forward, and it's just figuring out other ways of multiple streams of income and keep pushing forward.
Right.
So
definitely.
Doesn't matter if Agent Orange was president, the Sleepy Joe, like VP, like whoever's whoever.
People gotta chill, giving that way too much energy and power when it's stuff in real life that's going on, like everyday, like immediate life.
Yeah, people in Canarsie, they don't care who the president. They don't even care who the mayor is. Like, I'm just trying to make it through the day.
And they will be the first person to tell you, especially when election time came around. You ask them if they vote, and they like, what?
What? There's an election?
I don't got time for that.
Exactly.
And it just speaks to just like our community's understanding of politics, understanding of change systems, and just also trust in the system. Not giving things energy that they don't think is going to be helpful and change. And I understand it and respect it.
And especially where the politicians don't even come, especially, when the last time the mayor, any mayor, like went through the streets of Canarsie just to say hello,
or
like
East New York for that matter.
Exactly. I'm sure they'll go to East New York now because they're like $1 million homes now, so they'll go to East New York now. But
they trying to do something out there. Ooh. Good luck to that.
Exactly, and that's a struggle boat for another day. Like all this gentrification stuff that's been happening these last few years.
When there's so much value in these communities, I'm telling you, doing the work in Penn Wortman, as much as all of these underserved communities get the baddest rap, right? East New York, people are like, oh, East New York. Certain places in the Bronx, people are like, oh, the Bronx. And exactly. I'm like, there's a reason why those communities get that type of reputation, right? They're underserved. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of things happening in those communities. So yeah, it's centralized. That it's a lot of stuff happening out there. But going into those communities and speaking to the young people who just want to go to school and come to play basketball after school, like that's it, and that's all. It's not entire communities of people, right? There are specific individuals, especially out here in New York City, where the police, they have a whole booklet on them. They know who everybody is, who's causing issues, who's entertaining violence in the city. We have the violence interrupters, who shout out to them, who you call them right now, they'll be able to tell you tell them what neighborhood you're in, and they'll be able to tell you exactly who's got the problems over there. So they know exactly what's going on. And to your point earlier, what I found in the work is, the young people are cool, they chop it up, we have a great time, but it's really their parents who need to be in the workshop. Yeah. And perhaps they parents, if they still alive, because it's a generational thing. And to your point earlier, hopefully we're at that space where we're not passing it down anymore, because their parents, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm a lady now, a grown up. One of the young people was like, my mom wants to speak to a grown up and pass me the phone. I'm like, me? I'm like, oh, that would be me. I'm the grown up in the room. Damn. So I'm like, wow. And I'm speaking to this person, and we're the same age, but you could tell their mindset and their trajectory is much different. So it was about their payment, and this mother's on the phone, and when my son get his mother effing money, and I'm like, wow, okay, all right. So I can see where, you know, where this young person gets his energy from. A lot of it is totally environmental. So these parents got to be in these workshops, unlearning a lot of things that they were taught, and really unpacking a lot of their trauma, because they are messed up.
Yes,
and they don't pass it down to their kids.
No, totally. I totally see that. You know, working in, you know, in the schools, even not only this year, but even like late last year, you know, working, and it's just a lot. And because we're in a pandemic, you don't know what exact trauma they've been experiencing. Like, you know, for myself, I'm like, I'm trying to. Well, you asked at the very beginning, how am I doing? I recently I've been saying I've been trying to stay COVID free in these streets before I say anything.
That's the bare minimum at this point.
So it's like, you know, I need to take care of myself and make sure and do whatever safety precautions that I gotta do. So you want me to do something that prior to the pandemic, yeah, hop, skip at the jump, a home visit. All right, well, where I gotta go. So now it's like a home visit. So like, do I have to? Like, is it necessary? Can I do a phone call? Does this person have access to a computer or a phone to do a Zoom call? Because a home is the last place I'm trying to go into somebody's house, or I'll go to the doorway, pretend like I'm in Cali, there's an earthquake coming. We stand by the doorway and have a conversation before I go step inside somebody's house. So it's like, and who knows the trauma, whatever trauma people are going through. And you mentioned environment, like, you know, the hood's gonna be the hood, and no matter gentrification, the only thing that's gonna change is might be gentrification, whatever. But still, like, the initial hood is still gonna be an initial hood. So it's just a matter, you know, what we're doing, and trying to figure things out. And like, first things first, I'm trying to be COVID free in these streets, and then like, okay, how can I help, you know, my clients, and while still trying to, you know, be safe for myself. So that's been a struggle boat, like, for me, especially 2021.
There's been the COVID anxiety is certainly real. You could even just see it now increasing, even just walking around the city, how things are feeling like things are changing. People are even more on heightened alert with regards to walking next to each other. It just feels like March 2020, like, you know, it's not the same, because that was very, very extreme. But this, you know, when you see the long lines at the testing centers again and things of that nature. So the anxiety is definitely real. So that I do feel like a lot of people wake up every day with that on their mind, outside of the people who do not believe COVID is real. And we will not talk about those people. And
just for the record, it's not just white people.
I mean, you know what? And honestly, when I said that, I wasn't even thinking about white people, because all of the people I was thinking about are Black that have had this conversation with me.
Oh man, that's even worse.
I know that everyone else is feeling anxiety surrounding what you shared, keeping themselves safe first and foremost, but also loved ones that they live with, that they have to be around, keeping them safe. And even if you're COVID free, right, you still have anxiety around like anticipation of getting it, right? Am I going to get it in the grocery store? Am I going to get it at work? Am I going to get it? So either you have it and you're anxious about having it, or you don't have it and you're anxious about getting it. So literally everybody's just walking around anxious as hell about COVID. And that's compounded with stressors that were here before COVID, compounded with stressors that were brought on by COVID. So it's just a lot happening right now for a lot of people. So, you know, as social workers, we always just say, give yourself grace and give other people grace, because you literally have no idea what people are going through. And I'm so Libra, I'm so mindful of that. I don't have no like, aggressive energy, like, because I know people are easily triggered. Like, it's just, I just want to be as peaceful as possible. Like, you can't do anything to anybody these days without people like blowing a fuse. And I'm like, listen, I get it. So I'm with the hello, good morning, all of that. Like, and hold the door for people, like, just to make anybody day easier. I try to do that because people really be going through it. And you know what? Karma is real because I feel a lot of that energy and favor in return. And I have bad experiences when I'm nasty and got an attitude. It just doesn't pay for me. Like, I fall upstairs, like I do goofy stuff like break a nail. Like, I could always tell when my energy is off because something stupid and goofy will happen to me. And I'm like, you know what? Because you was nasty, you had an attitude. Get it together and it wouldn't happen to you. So I'm a self-talker. I talk to myself. That's my mantra, my self-care coping mantra with my anxiety. It's like, hold on.
Whatever works. And
what's your mantra? What's your go-to?
I'm usually like reserved to myself. Like, all my energy is like when my kids misbehave, like they the only ones that really put me 0 to 100 real quick. My ex-wife, God rest her soul, she was like what was like made me like that too, like 0 to 100. So besides that, I'm usually like chill. Sometimes it works in my favor. Sometimes like it doesn't. Like, if you're like, I mentioned this like in a previous podcast, usually like I do what I gotta do. I do it my way. Like, I'm not, there's times depending on the situation, I may go at work, I may go above and beyond. Otherwise, I do what I get paid to do, and I'm not gonna go above and beyond. And if you don't like it, then I may stay there at the company or may not. But I'm just being myself, and I've made it this far and learned to be happy like with myself. And if somebody doesn't like it, then I know my self-worth enough to like somebody else will, or another company will. So I'm just gonna keep it pushing and keep it moving and be the best dad I could be the best, future husband in 2022 I could be. So
it sounds closer than that.
So that's breaking news alert. So that's I'm like, look, wedding planning is popping. So or trying to beginning stages.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So
that's beautiful. Love is a beautiful thing.
So I'm just
make sure you get them pajamas too, or wedding is off.
So my fiance helps me out, just key, like whatever like I'm feeling, just talk to her about it. Like, I'm always my highlight on my days at work are driving to work and like when I leave work, because I'm one of those people that you see on the IG reels that they jam in the car and they're like wilding out in the car with listening to the music.
Okay.
That's me in the car. So when I go to work, a lot of 90s and hip hop R&B. There's a station.
Too. That's my go-to.
There's a station on satellite radio, and that's just my go-to. And without, there's no edits, so they play like the song first came out when you bought the CD. So.
Wow, listen, that's my go-to. That's my go-to playlist as well. 90s R&B, hip hop and R&B. It's the best era.
Yes, absolutely. And I wish, like, especially Tupac was still around, because he would have like cursed out Trump so many times.
Oh, he would have had some gems. He would have definitely had some gems for the times. Yes. A lot of the energy is transcended through music too. So I have a self-care playlist that I typically listen to in the beginning of the day,
Okay.
or if like, right before workshops, I'll play it to get me prepared before trainings or events. And it's really, if I'm listening to a song, even if I don't know it, I'll Shazam it. And I'm like, oh, I like the way that song made me feel. And then I'll add it to my playlist. So
Yeah.
I'll know, just really being intentional about the things that we do, because our body lets us know. So
Oh yeah,
my
absolutely.
playlist is growing every day, and I'll throw that thing on real quick. I'm on the A train and things getting kind of crazy. I'm like, let me just
Exactly.
turn on my music and stay grounded real quick.
Yes, especially on Broadway Junction before you hit Queens, like that whole Grand Ave and those
Yeah,
stations there, it'd be getting rough. From
yeah,
3 to 5 o'clock,
exactly.
it gets a little rough.
Exactly. Listen, I don't know where the most of your followers from, but if they from this city, they know exactly what we talking about. How there's
Because
so many different moments throughout the day that you just got to be so grounded, because
yes,
so much going on. Listen, I almost got attacked by a pack of rats last night walking to work.
oh my
And I
God,
could have just fainted like right there on 23rd Street and just passed out from just disgust. But I had to keep going and walk through them. And it took me forever to like calm down. I was so like, oh my God, it was so many of them. And I'm like, why is this my life? Why am I
it's
going to
good.
work at midnight? Why do I have to be attacked by a pack of rats? Like, it was just so many questions I was having last night. Then I
it's
took a
it's
minute and I was
yeah,
took a
it's
couple
it's
breaths.
so. If you've never been to New York City, come to New York City.
I mean, that probably wasn't the best trailer. It wasn't, but I mean, it's great. It's great otherwise.
so
Yeah.
I got as a social work question. What do you think about the incoming mayor, Mayor Adams? What do you think he's going to do to ease the problems that social workers deal with in New York?
Well, interestingly enough, we've been following his platform for some time now. We've actually went to go see him speak, just in a number of issues, specifically pertaining to small businesses, small Black businesses, just about his funding, his potential support. So as Brooklyn Borough President, he did have a lot of resources and workshops and things for small businesses, which are great. So that's one sort of thing that we were looking into as part of his mayor platform, to continue to allow small businesses, especially businesses like ours, who do the work, to grow and to get resources. So we
Right.
did see that. So that's a huge plus. Also, for example, this project that we're on is the city's prioritizing getting people work, getting people comprehensive training. So ideally, he could put more funding into that, so that, again, businesses like ours could get on the grounds to work with people to sort of help them navigate challenges to employment, to entrepreneurship, and things like that. So hopefully he continues to do the right thing and put the money where it's needed. I work for a Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, and I am part of the Thrive Initiative that de Blasio passed down,
Okay.
that was specifically surrounding mental health supports in schools and trauma supports in schools, which got a lot of heat. And I just like to say, y'all was talking about me. I am employed through that program, and I do great work, okay? And I don't know what anybody was talking about when y'all was cussing that man wife out. You see that? When it was cussing Shirley McCray out? But anyway.
Yeah, because allegedly she stole millions and millions of dollars from that
Hey,
was supposed to go into that program.
it did.
Allegedly,
It
allegedly,
did. I am.
allegedly.
It did.
I
I worked.
stress allegedly. I ain't got no money for nobody to be suing me. on my platform.
I'm just saying.
It did. The money went through. The money went.
If anybody wants to know, I am a part of that program, and I work very hard in these schools through that funding to do the work that them people said was supposed to be done. So yes.
Well, that's good, because that myth needs to be debunked.
Exactly. Listen, I don't know about all the millions, because I certainly didn't get them all. Not even a portion. But yeah, so hopefully they continue funding for that, because I would love to continue having a job.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that
and Department of Mental Hygiene, they need to get their funding from the state that freaking Cuomo messed up on. And a lot of these long-term care programs had to merge or close down because he refused to give up the money. So hopefully with this interim governor, she'll figure out something, or whoever the next governor is, like, to shell out this money, because a lot of people need services.
Right. So they definitely, I mean, the great thing about it is that the magnifying glass is very real on them right now. So whether it's going to be a political move or a genuine move, they're going to have to do something. Now, how you know how funding works in this city, it's really about how those funds are allocated. Now, there are a lot of great organizations in this city who can do the work, who are doing the work. But when these RFPs and these proposals come out, the same 4 or 5 large consulting companies in this city get them every single time. So hopefully they're going to change that so that small businesses like Reforum Consulting and other small dope businesses in the city can be a part of this initiative, so that real work can happen and real change can happen. Because no shade to these large organizations, and I'm sure if you live in the city, you know exactly which ones I'm talking about. But they've been doing this work 25, 30, 40 years. And it's really time to let other people come in with fresh ideas, with a fresh team of people, fresh energy, and let us get some of the coins.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got enough.
No, that's real, because there's all these organizations big organizations cannot merge with other companies and buy other companies, and you just monopolizing, and people are still struggling in these streets, and you're not doing what your mission statement is saying. Really? You're doing the bare minimum.
Bare minimum. If you ask some of these large organizations what their outcomes are for some of their programs, do you know what it is?
What's
10%, 8% completion rate, 8% employment, 8% housing, right? So if you're getting 44 million, 50 million from the city, if all you have to do is show them that 8% of whatever your program worked on was successful, what are we talking about? Mm-hmm. Like, that's literally not helping anything. So, being able to have measurables, like, we want 80% successful rate. Like, those things are different. That means you're going in with the intention to really support people, to really help people. Otherwise, it's just a numbers game.
Yeah. No, I told you, I've seen it, firsthand, working in nonprofits and being in an organization that I had to leave because the Department of Mental Hygiene didn't get the funding that they needed from the governor. So, all this money comes from the governor and the government office and give it to the city, and then the city, advocates. The city got their own budget, but part of that budget does come from the governor's office. So and then that money comes from the federal government. So the government the feds don't care, then the states ain't gonna care. So it's gonna affect the city. So that's it.
Once it's allocated, it's like, listen, get back to me in 12 months with what happened.
So that's important. That needs to be discussed. So especially for the newbies and so that come into social work, that they need to understand, that whole system, that you could come in with all this passion, all you want, that I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, until government funding, like you gotta deal with that and what that ramifications come to that, and that's where all the burnout come out and all this stuff. So you just sometimes you just gotta play within the system. That's it, and keep it pushing.
Yep. Yeah, and we started off, and this is a great way for small businesses to even get recognized and get on these contracts. We started off just really as subcontractors, just really aligning ourselves to bigger businesses that were doing the work, joining projects that they were a part of, and then of course being Reforum, showing up in excellence, showing out, really showing the work that we do, and just being handpicked in that way to keep moving throughout the system. We are MWBE certified, and we are part of the New York City Passport Portal, which is very important for all small businesses who do the work.
What is that?
Passport Portal. If you sign up as a New York City vendor, literally by listing all your capabilities, all the things that your business can do, all of the areas of specialization your business can do, we literally get at least 5 emails a day from the city, because right now we know that the fiscal year is active right now, with the amount of money that needs to be spent before the tax, it's like a whole thing that the city does with their money. So you become part of this system, and they will email you based off of what you shared, RFPs that are available. So we literally get like 5 or 6 of these emails a day about monies that are available based off of what we said that we can do. So we literally just had to hire a RFP and grant writer. Shout out to Candace Modest Solutions, if y'all need a grant writer, to go through these emails and follow up, because it's $10,000, it's $100,000, it's $2,000. Just really small one-off opportunities that either your business can take advantage of, or if you know somebody, go for it, take it, and just put on your people. Like, that's literally how we have to move, because that's how these larger organizations have been moving for so long. That's why they continue to get all the grants, literally because their name is known. People know. I ain't even gonna give them no airtime. But
because they ain't cut no checks, so we're not gonna say no names.
We have to keep looping each other in. Like, we have our grant writer now, and we literally told her, if you don't ask us no questions, just if you know us, you know our vibe, just fill it out. We'll worry about that stuff later. Now, I will say that with an air of caution, because a lot of businesses do that. And I'm not speaking from a greedy place, because a lot of businesses we have seen do that just to literally monopolize all the contracts, but they have no intention to do the work right, and no intentions to put nobody on, right? So there are a lot of these businesses who go fill out all the contracts, take them, don't have the capacity to fill them, don't have the infrastructure, don't have no program planning experience. Programs are a hot mess, got the money, and with the 8% measurables, you Gucci. You did what you said you was gonna do. So you just move on. Right. So I'm not speaking about those people doing it that way. I'm speaking about being intentional about getting grants, getting your network together, putting your company in positions to put other people on. I'm speaking from that perspective, because you will see that people are taking these grants and doing the community a huge disservice, because they're not doing anything they put in a proposal, anything that they said they're going to do. And it's unfair to our communities that our taxes are paying for these grants for people sometimes who don't even look like us, sometimes who not even from New York City, to come into these spaces to do the bare minimum, tell the city they did that thing and keep it moving and nothing has changed. So we're not doing that. We are trying to build something great, like, and we just want everybody to be a part of it because we can't do it alone. And it's a lot of people who need help.
Right,
a lot of people.
And this is why the importance of networking, there's so much power and use social media, not just the BS, but like network, like there's LinkedIn, like Twitter. No, social work Twitter is a monster. Like so many people just
That's
on
the
Twitter.
handle?
Yeah, just the hashtag social work Twitter, and there's a whole bunch of mental health professionals on there. And you'll learn info. You get a good laugh. People like joke around BS, but also there's a lot of good people like doing a lot of work throughout the country, not just citywide. Instagram is like people on TikTok doing stuff. Is just so much out there. Like
TikTok is a beast.
At the very beginning, I mentioned, we met twice. So like, and look at us now having a conversation about the work you're doing, the work I'm doing. So it's just about networking and connecting, like emailing, like this. So many people, and there's money to be had. Even if you want to like do a 501c, you just start one up, and there's contracts out there to be had. And you start a 501c, forget the government asking the government for student loans. You could just do a 501c and pay into that from your 501c, and your loans will be paid off because you started your own nonprofit. So you can do. There's other ways to get around, like get money and thrive. We're not talking about survival. Just thrive, and you just gotta know. And if you don't know, like that's the whole point of networking. Somebody else might know, and then you like piggyback and get info on that. So it's all about networking. I'm glad one of my professors in grad school was stressed like the networking aspect, and I wish I took more advantage of that, because I pretty much lost contact with almost everybody I went to grad school with, other than a couple of people. I don't want to say the name because they pissed me off when I was in grad school. I still, man, they owe me because I had to find my own internship my third year grad school. Man, get out of here.
Oh, well, it'd be like that.
I still petty. I be petty with regarding that.
Listen, I still owe my student loans. So
yeah.
Well, actually, not from that degree. I actually had a scholarship for my master's, my MSW.
Okay.
But that was a blessing as well. To Silberman.
So,
shout out to Silberman.
Yes, shout out to them. And then just Silverman is doing a lot of good work regarding our Latino Latinx community. So they doing their thing. What made you start? You guys, the three of you, start Reforum? Like what triggered that idea?
I mean, we really, Vicki Jocelyn, she's a licensed social worker as well. Taimi is a master's of organizational leadership. We've been friends for a number of years, colleagues as well, and just really decided to put all of our skills and our experiences and our education together to just create something that we knew was needed. Knew was valuable and knew would be different. So, it was really natural and necessary. It started off really as just a passion project. I always say I was an RA in college, and that was one of the things that I'm like, I just always feel like I'm an RA doing this work. Like in workshops, I'm like, I'm just a big ass RA kid. Like, this is crazy. And I still am like, I can't believe I get paid to do this. This is like so fascinating to me. But yeah, just really, it just feels, it feels great. It feels natural. It feels like, you know, I'm a therapist as well, and I'm a social worker for schools, and I'm a, co-founder of Reforum. So with those three different things going on, it's great because they're all very much connected. So it doesn't feel like three distinct, overwhelming things that I have to do in my life. They really, just connect. And, being a consultant for two of the roles, I do get to create my own schedule, and just really make my time work for me. So it just works. And as a unit, as a business, we're going on 4 years next year. Like I shared a little bit earlier, we're really going in a new year with intention, sitting down with a whole business planning team to figure out how we're going to touch 1 million next year. So that's really the energy that we on right now.
Speak that into existence.
Claim it.
And Mayor Adams cut the checks. Let's go.
Man, you could tag him too.
I actually met him this year. He was in the Bronx doing just in the courthouse doing the talk or whatever he was doing, and I so happened to walk by. I actually came to New York for a couple of days and just happened to. I was walking, doing what I needed to do, handling some personal business. I so happened to run into him talking. And
wow, he be outside though. Like they be acting like he don't be outside.
I saw him in Harlem a month after that, talking. So he be in the streets. So hopefully, as mayor, he'll continue to do that. And he got.
I hope so. I mean,
the Blasio messed up so much, so he got his work cut out.
Yeah, he's definitely coming. And then, being a Black man as well, that's also another added pressure that I'm sure he's experiencing. So I just hope that the right things happen. People make the right decisions with regards to system impacted people, and how we're going to get social work to the community.
Yeah.
More.
Yes, more.
And better.
Yes, and not cut youth funding because kids need something to do during the summer. And so you mentioned some of youth employment that's always gets cut, and kids need to do something. They need to learn. Yeah, everything's on Zoom now. Just put some money.
It was on Zoom for the 2 years that we did it, 2020 and 2021. Okay, it was on Zoom. So I presume next year is gonna be on Zoom.
So there you go. Put some more money into doing that, and people need to learn how to code. People need to do what type of things.
Speaking of that,
people like games and.
I was gonna tell you, we just got a new contract of teaching Black women how to code.
Oh, nice.
So while I'm not a coder, we are on a contract that is going to allow 25 Black women from the community to be trained for free through General Assembly software engineering coding program based out in New York City. It's a estimated $14,000 program that we're going to connect with 20 to 25 Black women to do this program for free. Wow. Training, coding, intensive program, General Assembly, Goldman Sachs. Man, the opportunities are real. It's just so dope. So when you said that, it just triggered all the good feels in my body because I'm I forgot about that one. We starting that one next month.
That's amazing. And it's so important, like we mentioned before. If you don't learn all these skills, you're gonna be left back, and society is not going to care. So I'm so glad that that's happening, and there's so much money to be made in that, and using platforms, and go, if you make the right app, Apple will buy it, and you're set for life. So.
Yeah, I just would just want to elevate the portal again. Right now, the city is putting a lot of money into small businesses, into um, just different wellness projects and things like that. So whatever you do, whatever business you had, I definitely encourage you to join the portal. You said coding, right? I'm pretty sure when they were looking for a vendor, they thought, they had this ton of money. It literally goes, let's do a coding program. Let's go to the portal to see what coders we have. Probably was a very small amount of coders in the portal. They got the contract by default. So like, go, whatever. If you're a chef, when the vaccination pods that are open right now, there's a couple chefs that got the contract through New York City to feed the vaccination staff. That's a New York City contract. So things like that, the city has to pay for everything. The city has to pay for pens, pencils, paper, like all of these things. So you got to think about it in that way. And that was something that I never thought about when I'm like everything. So when we say the city, all the DO somethings, they got to pay for everything that they purchase, and everything they purchase has to be through the portal system. So if you're in the portal, you have a large opportunity of being a part of being selected to get these opportunities. So sign up.
No, that's great information. That's a great gem, because I met so many social workers, especially from New York, that got their businesses on the side on top of their 9 to 5, and it's great for them to. You don't have to use your own capital. You can just use the government money and make money using the government's money, and there you go.
Yep. And if it's what you love to do, like when you spoke about like, being at work and it is what it is. I think a large part of you being able to do that is because you have Social Work Rant podcast, because you have all of these other passion projects that you have going on, which is certainly healthy, right? So for people who do go to work and who sit there for 8 hours and come home and repeat the same thing, but don't have like sort of that why or those passion projects, it doesn't feel the same. So utilize your passions outside of your work, like even bring your passions into work. And you can get this money, like you can do both at the same time. And I tell you right now, they could keep cussing and screaming at Shirley McCray and whoever about this program, but I ain't going nowhere until they like, you know what, it's over. I'm staying right where I'm at. But both can be true at the same time, and just being able to use this city funding, use the city to be able to do what you love. Is so dope, because of course I would love to go in to every project in New York City and talk to the young people about how dope they are and about mental health. But that costs money, and time is money.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I can go for X amount of dollars for sure, and to have a great dope conversation. So I think that a lot of us who do this work want to do it and are well intended, but the reality is we got to get paid. Exactly. Like time is money, and you could guest speak and all you want, and you could be the dopest free guest speaker in the world, but it's not free.
Yes, exactly. Especially if you're traveling a couple of hours to go somewhere, and like
it's not
in a couple of hours I could do so many other different things. And
yeah, and people don't quite want to talk about that when it comes to social work, because let the world tell it that social workers wasn't supposed to make no money. Like we was all supposed to be, and shout out to all our ACS social workers. We love y'all too. But everybody is like, oh, that's the only type of social work you can do. And that was a huge misconception. And I think that, when I talk about social work, my social work looks much different, than traditional social work. So social work can be so many different things, especially the consulting game. Man, this thing can go so far and so wide. I remember meeting a death and dying consultant social worker. And I'm like, what is that? And, and just her explaining it to me, and I'm like, okay, there will probably be a market for that. But just like her telling me, like, yeah, my clients are wealthy and they pay me to sit with their loved ones before they die. Wow. To talk to them, to social work with them before they die. A little morbid for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, somebody's got to do it. And when she was telling me her rates, I was like, wow, I would have never thought of that.
No, that's the beauty of me using my platform too, because I met so many different people doing so many different things that are not the traditional social work role. I was like, oh, I didn't even think you can even like do that, think outside the box like that. Like it's
all the way outside the box. Ain't no box.
Exactly. but that stigma is still real when they say your social work is like, you're taking my kids away, like, or just having that I did something wrong, and like no, you ain't doing nothing wrong, like, bro, relax, like I'm here to help you, like or it's not just like talk therapy, like I'm just trying to like kick it with your kid, like about like whatever your kid might be going through that doesn't want to like talk to you about, like it's like relax.
Right. Yeah, so we really gotta change that whole perspective and perception about social workers. And I think that through podcasts like yours, Joyous, a number of other people, just really like the work can be done in so many different ways. Therapy can be done in so many ways. My sessions with my youth, they're like, this is therapy. And I'm like, yeah, we just vibing, like, so it's great to be a part of work. It's great to show up in spaces and being like, I have these earrings on if I go into the community. Also, if I go into corporate spaces, like, I don't know what to tell y'all. Y'all paid me already, so y'all can listen and feel some type of way about it, or allow yourself to be open and and to be a part of the community, be a part of the space. And more times out of not attend, by the end of the training, the most closed people will end up coming up to us and be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe." Yeah, and it still feels funny being celebrated for our value just because we're Black. It's like, I didn't know, or like, that was so good. I didn't know you knew much about like the DSM-5. And I'm like, I did say I was a social worker, but these earrings and my skin color kind of threw you off.
Exactly.
I get it, but like it's just so interesting to be celebrated for being knowledgeable.
You mentioned a mantra, like for a long time I used to be like, keep sleeping on me or you will get shitted on. So
exactly.
Don't sleep.
Exactly. And that's literally the caption. Literally. But yeah, it's great. The work is great. I love connecting with people like you. I met so many people on Instagram through hashtags and through just people following our page, and just a bunch of good energy, real energy. So I'm certainly happy to have been here today to be a part of this conversation. I think that, once coronavirus or Marianne sort of decides what they want to do, I would love for you to have sort of like a social work rent podcast panel, sort of like event where
I definitely want to do something live once pandemic is over and whenever it feel like over. I heard from some people that they predict when it's going to be over. I don't want to disappoint people, but we gonna be try to keep it positive.
Them the same ones who said it was 5G and it was going through the phone.
Was bats 5G like
bats?
People, yeah,
I never heard the bats one before.
That's what that's when people saying it was the first start. It was like bats in China.
They everything. Ate the bats, right?
People ate the bats, or like some bacteria, right. Whatever, something from the bats.
I forgot about that one.
I was like, listen,
just drink your water, stay prayed
your vitamins.
God, Allah,
elderberry,
whoever it is,
ginger, exercise. I got one last question. So when we met up in the Bronx for the Earn Your Leisure event, what did you learn at the event? What was your highlight of that event? Because we talk about networking and the importance of networking, and there was literally millions and millions of dollars in that room.
Man, listen,
in that restaurant.
Right? They say if you in a room with a couple of millionaires, you're likely to be the next one. So I look around and I'm looking at literally millionaires. I know I'm in the right place because
we're talking about Black and brown, Latinas in there.
I'm getting chills thinking about that night. It was so amazing. And shout out to them. And we all had the opportunity to meet them that night too. And we also told them. So when you was giving them their flowers earlier, I had asked you if you told them, because giving people their flowers is a real thing. But anyways, I used
while they're alive.
Exactly. I used a couple clips from their podcast for one of my classes with my youth. It was the 100 bar lesson on entrepreneurship. If you've never listened to that before, give it a listen. It's I forget who the artist is, but it says 100 bars on entrepreneurship, and we just have them unpack that. But anyways, the night in the spirit, what I did learn in the spirit of what they were bringing people together is to network. So from that night, I met a guy who was a physical trainer. He did work with me. I hired him to do a physical fitness session with my youth on one of my contracts. There were 2 people I met there that recently graduated from my program because I put them on to be part of the construction program that I was on. There's another guy that I met that night that we're connecting on another project he's working on. So what I learned is to do what they put people in that space to do. And that's to make connections. And I did. And we did. And we literally used Troy Meadow from Meadow Fitness like a week after that podcast, a week after that event, a couple weeks after that event. So yeah.
That's dope.
Shout out to them.
Yes. Where can people find you?
So you can find me at Reforum Consulting that's the email, reforumconsulting@gmail.com, or you can find us on Instagram at Reforum Consulting. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Facebook at Reforum Consulting as well. REFORUM And awesome. I am 1/3. Shout out to my partners, Vicky Jocelyn and Tammy Gadsden, the other 2 amazing, beautiful Black women who created this amazing thing called Reforum.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. This is so dope.
Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the opportunity. As you can tell, I love running my mouth. And when I was in school, I used to always get in trouble for talking too much. And if they could just see me now, just getting paid to talk, it's just, you see how life works.
Exactly.